So, last week's lesson, in my opinion, is one of the most important lessons that we have to master. And even if you guys noticed when you were talking to me, you could see that what you were saying and your goal at times were very incongruent. And so we want to let go more. See, we've got to understand this. So we want to start playing the and game in our life, not the or game. Too many people are playing the or game. And your wants are meant for you to fulfill them. And in order to do that, we've got to really take our life more serious. We've got to put more attention on doing the right things. Because I want all of you to live a life of freedom. I genuinely want you to be emotionally free. There's nothing better than that. There's absolutely nothing better when you are in complete control of yourself. And it has nothing to do with money. A lot of people think it's about the money. It's about how free you are emotionally. That's what's going to create the money. And it's about, I can't even begin to share with you, I've said it on almost every call, how important intention is and making intention a part of our identity. And it's really creating a mindset of excellence. But one of the questions that a lot of people don't ask themselves is, how do I really want to spend my days? Do you wonder that sometimes? Do you ever ponder, how do I want to spend my days? You know, I think I mentioned it before. I have a program called the Pinnacle Club. I work very closely with 7 individuals. And one of the things that I have them do every day to start their day is write out their perfect day in the present tense during their morning routine. The reason I have them do that is because I want them thinking everything from what they want. And whenever we write, it creates a deep commitment within ourselves. And we start training ourselves on how we're going to live in the future. Now, a lot of people could take this and say, oh, that makes sense. You're not going to understand the power of it unless you do it for 90 days. You do it for 90 days, you're going to want to do it for 90 years. And it changes so much inside of us. And we want to start really setting ourselves up. And the first step of this is we have to have extreme ownership that I am responsible for all the results I'm getting. Like, you guys are not responsible for my results. Mikey's not responsible for my results. My wife is not responsible for my results. I'm the only one responsible. All our results come from us, not to us. Now, there's never been an easier time to win than 2024. Why? Because we live in a marketplace with a lot of victims. They're complaining. They're blaming everybody for their results. And when you take responsibility, you take back power to transform your life. You know, yesterday, I was on a call with one of my good friends and one of our coaches, Wendell Yoder. And he got really upset the day before because a client had a result that had nothing to do with him, but he internalized it. And I shared with him that you're not responsible for his emotional state. He has to do the work. The only thing that we're responsible for is, did you set him up to win? And he said, yes. And I said, but you can't take over what other people's responsibilities are. And when you start understanding this, then you're not going to let anybody control your mind. You're going to be in control. Now, some of you may have had bad partnerships. You may have had a divorce that was ugly. Still, that came from us because we allowed it. Once we come from that position, you're creating abundance in that moment. But responsibility and ownership is something we have to train ourselves to do. We have to, like, I can give you all the processes that I know win. I had a client last night. It was like 10 o'clock at night. He texted me. He goes, "Your stuff really works," is what he texted me. And I said, yeah, if you do the work. But most people are doing the work 3 days a week, 2 days a week. And we have to do it every day. And if you do it every day, it becomes a part of your beingness. It's just like brushing your teeth. Nobody has to tell you to brush your teeth. We got a dentist on here that will tell you the importance of brushing your teeth, but nobody will tell you to brush your teeth. You just do it. Well, that's how I want you to look at your processes. And as you build the processes, you're going to build the results. But let me share something with you. It's a slight difference than anything I've ever said. And I was thinking about it last week when I was working out. Why do my processes work for me so much and work for the client so much? It's because you have to be an active participant in the process. The process is not just a philosophy to me, it's a verb. So if you are not emotionally involved in it, then it's not going to have much of an impact. If you're doing it just because I told you to do it, it's not going to have much of an impact. So we want to become an active participant. Now, I want you from this day forward to have extreme ownership for your actions, what you're responsible for, and your results. That's where we want to have complete ownership. Now, the highest level of mastery is very simple. You perform according to your standard, and I want your standard elevating every day. I want it elevating every day. Even if it's just 0.01%, you're going in the right direction. We have to understand if you have an income goal, your income always reflects your identity. So if we look at our income, that is where our identity has been in the past. Doesn't mean that's where it is right now, but hold yourself accountable there. And we have to understand you. I want to know, like a client, before we start, a client texted me and he said, I failed at X. And I said, did you ask yourself why? See, if we ask ourselves, why did we fail? Then we're neutral, but I want you so you don't make the same mistakes again. And you will never outperform your story. Your story is how the truest part of you on a subconscious level sees yourself. So we want to constantly be upgrading our story. And the best way to upgrade your story is disrupt comfort. Now, successful people do things that unsuccessful people are not willing to do. So I want you to build that in your philosophy. There's a lot of things during the day that I don't want to do, but I train myself to do it. So you have to burn that as part of your philosophy. And remember, your philosophy is your operating system. Just like the paradigm has an operating system, it defends comfort and it defends its operating system. I want you to train yourself to do what you don't want to do because it's essential to get to your goal. Now, winners are prepared to do what they don't want to do. So if you look at anybody you admire, and if you watch their behaviors, I promise you, they do whatever it takes. And I've been burning this idea in your mind that your goal is going to demand you to do whatever it takes, and it's going to take whatever it takes. It's not just good enough to say, I want 100 million, or I want 5 million a year, or I want X. Am I owning that? Am I being one with that? Now, world class is about what you do every day. And there's not one person on this call that does not have the potential to create life on their terms. There's not one person. Now, is it going to take courage? Yes. Is it going to demand you going back to last week's lesson to be less mechanical? Absolutely. Is it going to demand you to fail forward? Absolutely. But it's what you're doing every single day. Now, the only difference between those who have failed and those who have succeeded are the difference of their habits. What if I told you habits isn't the most important thing? Attitudes are much more important than our habits. Your attitude is driving every result in your life. It's driving every relationship. It's driving every story you have about yourself. Attitude is greater than your habits. And I want you to burn that in your mind. Now, today we're going to talk about the best lesson that I could tell you following up with letting go. If you mix these two lessons together, get ready to be off to the races. Now, how I would study this is I would alternate your recordings of listening to the lesson on letting go and listening to this lesson. Just alternate them every day because they're going to feed off of each other. But everything is driven by your goal. And I want you to ask yourself, is my goal accepted? Have I accepted it? Is it as big as a billboard in my mind? Is it always coming in when, like, I'm in the shower and my goal came in my mind? That happens to me all the time. I'll just be not even thinking about anything, and then my goal pops in. So that's how you know you're committed to that goal. When you're not even trying to think about it and it comes up. That's how I want your goal. But what a lot of people do is they're sending double binding messages because they're letting that present result control their thinking. Even though they know what they want, they're putting more attention on what they don't want. Why? Because they have fear of loss. Now, this is going to demand you to have explosive thinking. Think about an athlete. When they're explosive, they're very, what is it called? Quick twitch. You'll see them, they're very quick twitch, right? They have this just burst. They do a lot of bursts. That's how I want your thinking to be. That's how I want your action to be. That's why we do the 30, 60, 90-minute sprints. That's why we do a 30-day sprint. That's why we create quantum leaps within 12 weeks. I want your thinking to be based on you and your goal, not based on what somebody else tells you. Now, there's nothing more powerful than thought. Neuroplasticity, the research has shown us that our thought travels faster than the speed of light. So if you don't think your thinking is important, look at your results. That's just a reflection of your thinking. Your thinking is a prequel to your results. So we become what we think about most of the time. Earl Nightingale really locked this in. And there's nothing more accurate than that. Look at your results. That's what you've been thinking most of the time over the last 6, 12 months. So who controls your thinking? Only you. I can't control it. I can help you create a bigger image of yourself because I can inundate my standard into yours. And a great leader does that. The best leaders are holding the image not as what the person is, but what they can be, and they speak to them from that language. You can speak to yourself from that language. Now, world-class people never put their energy on what is. So every time you're letting your present results control you, just tell yourself, I'm sending out a double binding message. I'm sending out a counter intention. And I have got to get so good at accepting and rejecting at that moment. You got to catch it at that moment. But you can't put your thoughts, this is just literally thinking 101. You can't put your thoughts on what is missing or else you're going to keep creating from your past self. You can't put your thoughts on present results because guess what? All your energy is once again based on the past. It's not even based on the present. It's based on the past. You can't put your energy on the past because the past is dead. We want to learn from the past. And you don't create based on what others want for you. It's got to be an authentic want, what you want for yourself. Now, it is critical that we intentionally, remember what is intention? Frequency of thought. Whatever we put our attention on, our intention follows right away. We want to intentionally discipline our thinking to think and act like the person and take massive action each day. Massive action doesn't mean 100 action steps. It's doing your actions in a certain way with a certain swagger. Now, I'm going to give you a trick here that will take less than 3 minutes a day to do in the morning that will make this automated for you if you really do it. I encourage you. Encourage is not even a good word. I am telling you, if you want to make a massive game changer for you, you will do this. You sit down, you relax, and you see yourself with your eyes closed behaving like the person you want to be. That's the first thing you do. Do it for 3 minutes. Watch yourself behave like that person. Watch yourself make the sales. Watch yourself, for Cedric, make the right trades. Watch yourself being in a calm, relaxed state, but being very urgent. And watch yourself not letting anything bother you. Then with your eyes open, you act like that person throughout the day. Now, it's not just good enough to visualize yourself seeing yourself that way. You got to follow through by doing it. And if you just did it for 14 days, it'll automatically start coming together. It'll be easier for you to take those actions. But I'm asking 3 minutes to seeing yourself behave the way you want to behave. I'm not talking about the outcomes. I'm talking about the behaviors. I want you to fuse with behaving like the person who already achieved your goal. Now, the great Jim Rohn used to say, what's easy to do is easy not to do. So I'm going to tell you this. It's going to be easy not to do. But this will be an absolute game changer for you. And then what if at night, going back to Gus closed his eyes for another 3 minutes at night. And he started tracing his day and mentally rehearsing what he did during that day. And then he noticed a point where he went into lack and limitation. I want him to go there and then change when he went to lack and limitation and mentally rehearse the opposite. These are absolute game changers. What I'm doing is, when we do this, when I do this for myself and what I'm encouraging you to do, it's breaking the bad habit of being your past self. That's what it's doing. And that's only going to take you 6 minutes a day. Now, I want you to remember your want drives everything. Your want creates abundance, but want starts with the essence of who we are. It starts in our subjective mind. Your want and my want are completely different. And they should be different because we're different people. But our want is meant to be fulfilled, and our want channels to our conscious mind, and our conscious mind's job is to accept it. Now, I will tell you this. I've studied this 1,000 different ways. I used to ask my mentor, Bob Proctor, I'd say, it seems so simple. He said, success is so simple. He said, but Arash, 99% of the people, when they get a want, they say, no, I can't do that. Or they commit to it for an hour. He said, you've got to inundate it. It is so simple. I remember we were talking about this story about the want. He was working with a professional baseball player. And he said the only thing he gave him to do, he wanted to get a $10 million contract. And the guy's phone was not ringing. And he said, the only thing I want you to do over and over, say, I'm so happy and grateful now that I have just been signed for 10 million or more. He said 3 weeks later, the guy got signed. And he said, the funny thing is, he never took my call again after that. He never took my call again after that. That's what he told me. And he said, but all we have to do is accept that and start inundating it. So when we accept the want, and that's why I said, like, some of these things are so simple that it could go over your head. When I talk about radically accepting an idea, that is a huge power position for you. When you radically accept it, what happens is you turn it right back to the subconscious mind. And when we radically accept it, it is done. Now, you're not going to see the results yet because there's a delay. But this is why you mentally rehearse and you auto-suggest. This is why you get in the spirit of your goal, not the spirit of your present results. And when you turn that want into a desire, the desire alters your vibration. And just like that story I was telling you about that baseball player, all your conditions, circumstances, and environment change. But you know what most people are desiring? Maybe it's you. They're desiring what they don't want. They're putting an obsession of what they don't want. They're talking about what they don't want. They are so up and down. And that is what's happening. Somebody called me yesterday, not called me, he was messaging me on WhatsApp. And he said, I really want this, and the rest of his language is what he doesn't want. And you know what my message back is? I said, stop the nonsense. I said, stop the nonsense. You're telling me what you want, then you're giving me every reason. Oh my God, I'm anxious. Oh my God. Well, toughen up. You have to pay the price. You have got to pay the price. I didn't make these rules, but I follow the rules. So we have to stop this BS of going into our doubt. What, you think you're going to be less disappointed if you're focusing on what you don't want? Or focusing on what you want? You put all your energy, you put your heart on the line, and that's going to open your heart, and that's how you're going to bring in abundance. Now, the results will always change once you follow the creation process. It's very simple. I have a want, I accept it, I turn it back over through repetition, I think, feel, and act like that person, and I'm going to get the result. Very simple. But then you got the mind. You got the old programming. And the old program is going to fight like hell. It is going to fight. It's going to try to trick you. It will trick you at times. You will win. The program will win. You will win. You will win. The biggest thing is, instead of taking one step forward, 4 steps back, I want us to take 1 step forward, 2 steps back, then 2 steps forward, 1 step back, then 3 steps forward, 1 step back. That's how success is created.